You should see big V on your screen. Give me a thumbs up, Taylor, if we got it. Okay, awesome. That's better. All right, so let's talk really quick about this whole trust economy concept and what's important in figuring out trust. So I'm going to start here and let's talk about. So the market is really interesting as I talk to people in all across North America, and I'm talking to people in British Columbia, Toronto, Moncton, New Brunswick, New York, California. There's really a lot of interesting things that are happening. One of the things that's consistent across all of our markets is the uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, it causes people to pause. Are you guys all feeling that? You feel this uncertainty. They don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. They don't know what's going to happen with different elections. There's all of this political stuff going on, and it causes, interest rates, uh, the clear cooperation. There's all this weird stuff that's in the air that causes people to just pause. You know, economic uncertainty makes buyers cautious about their timing and about their purchase decision. It makes sellers think about, boy, I wonder if I waited, if the market's going to get better, or am I going to get more money out of my houses? So it causes them to be hesitant. And interest rates don't seem to have any consistency. They're kind of going up and down, and it creates anxiety across all different transition types. And so when that happens, when we see there's uncertainty in the marketplace, it brings up the most important asset that we have. And to me, that's the trust level that our consumers have with us as real estate agents and professionals. And so the most important factor, so the question I have for all of you is, what do you believe are the most important factors when it comes to building trust? Like, what are the things that you believe are the most important in your life when it comes to building trust with the people in your list? And let's discuss it. Don't come off mute, but maybe just use the chat and come in and let's talk about some of those things. I have it open. Let me see what people are typing in there. So what are the things that you believe are most important? What are the most important factors? Okay, consistency, Robert says, and reliability, and then getting results. Okay, communication and honesty, says Janice. Communication seems to be coming up as a constant factor. Is it any kind of communication? Ian says, just call him back. Like, do the basics at a higher level. Being impeccable with your word. Adam, that's different than trust, isn't it? That's different than just having integrity. When you say being impeccable, that to me means that it's not negotiable. Like you're going to always do what you say. Availability, Chloe, being available when people want help. Um, I love Paul saying listening to their concerns because understanding their situation often means that the advice we give them isn't in our best interest. Meaning, like the best thing for somebody at the situation they're in might be to do nothing. And when we want to build trust, we give them the right information. I had a lady one time who lost her husband and they had a big tax lien on their property and all her equity was in the house. But if they sold the house, it paid off $60,000 tax lien. And I called the IRS for her and the IRS said, if she does nothing over the next 12 months, we will make that tax lien go away and she'll be able to keep the equity. Well, had I sold her house right then, I would have made commission, but it wouldn't have been the best thing for her. So we just told her to wait. And we helped her stay in the home for a year. And then the year came up. We got the IRS to remove the lien that was in her husband's name only. And she was able to make an extra $180,000 in her income. Having her wait when it wasn't in my best interest as an agent built massive trust, and created a lifetime of referrals. Because when anybody brought up real estate, it was, you can't use anybody else because we focus on what's in their best interest. Action speaks louder than words, says, is it Kala? Do I say that right? And it says, backs things up. Kayla, thank you. Show up, improve your business models. Yeah, so success stories matter. Knowing and having real knowledge of your area. These are all great things. So I believe all of those things are true. So the things that you all wrote in here with integrity and market knowledge and intelligence, I think that in a trust economy, which is where we are today, the differentiator is we become professionals in real estate instead of average realtors. The average realtor does 4 or 5 transactions a year. They're not good at it, and they don't really fail enough to be excellent. And they don't have enough knowledge and market expertise to give people the real options that are out there. There's so many great options that are out there. And so, one of the things that I think is a real truth bomb is that people don't hire just the best agent, they hire the one that's the best agent that they trust. And trust is the differentiator. And that's in the front of their mind at the moment that that transactional need comes up. So we have to be at the front of their mind. They have to associate us with trust. And they have to recognize that we're going to do the best thing for them. To me, that's why people make decisions. It's not just, I'm going to get somebody I know in real estate. When things are difficult, people people don't go to the agent that they know. They go to the agent that they trust and that they remember. And so how do we make that happen? How do we show up? So how do we build trust? So I believe that trust is built in 3 very specific areas: proximity, it's staying close to your client's world. It's understanding their timeline, their concerns, their goals, and it's being present in the entire journey, not just showing up at transaction points. And that's a big critical differentiator, is that we have all of these tools and AI and other things that tell us when we need to show up because somebody has behavior that's being consistent with someone who might be moving or remodeling or refinancing. Well, if you are really focused on staying close to your clients in their world, you are present in their entire journey, not just at the transaction points. Think about what that means differently. So, what does that mean different than how we're currently showing up? How do we stay in proximity and close to our clients during the entire journey? What are some activities that you might think of that would help you do that? By the way, this is a really interactive group, and I appreciate everybody getting on chat and putting your answers in. So thank you for that. So, what are some activities or things you can specifically focus on that will keep you at the front of their mind during their journey, not just at the transaction points? Did I thank you all too soon for being interactive? Or, okay, there you go. Okay, gaining rapport, learning important events and dates. That's right. Having email touches, so email touches I think are good, but I think they're probably the lowest value. I think a text message is more valuable, and I think conversations are more valuable. Paul says conversations, yeah, ongoing conversations. It's Ford. How's your family? How's things going at work? What are you doing for fun this summer? And what do you have planned for the year? It's using the Ford dialogue. Video messages work great. Giving video messages, updates, things that are happening in the marketplace, being specific. I'm going to give you more things that you can share like that. I love these things. Doing baby showers, happy hours, client events. Those are all things that absolutely work. It's an ongoing thing. Okay, and then consistency. So number one is being close to them. Number two is being close to them consistently. It's having scheduled follow-up, repeated, reliable interactions that show that you're committed for the long term. When someone says, "I'm not ever selling," you say, "That's great. I always want to make sure that we maintain our relationship. I don't care if you ever sell. I like you and I like your family, and I want to make sure we stay in touch." And then relevance. We need to make sure that we're not just communicating things that make us look good. We want to be able to share insights and things that matter to them specifically, not just generic updates. Generic market updates don't build trust. Personalized guidance does. Hey, what do you do in the winter when it gets freezing cold in Toronto? Here's 4 things that'll protect your house. Like, protect your investment, not general, but be specific. Building relationships of trust means that we do our research around our individuals, that when we meet them, we take good notes and we build a contact record that has all the information about the client. SRO means we serve regardless of opportunity. It means that we are constantly looking for opportunities to give something of value with no strings attached, serve regardless of opportunity. We're then consistent in our messaging based on our relationship. We get with them face to face from time to time, and then we make sure that when a transaction happens, that there's a specific process that we follow that puts them in a loop that follows up forever. We onboard them as a buyer or seller, we follow up forever, and then that cycle continues. When you do your research, it's where are they moving? What have they done? How do you stay in touch? There's a whole system that goes there. So trust conversations. Trust equals having more conversations. Several of you put this in the chat. It means we're having more conversations with genuine dialogue that builds rapport. It's not here's what I'm doing that makes me better. It's it's what's going on in your life that I need to understand more about. When you give more referrals and you have more trust conversations, it generates more advocacy. It creates better word of mouth. People talk about you more when they know how you're showing up for them. And the bottom line is there's no more profitable business that you could focus on than your relationship business. I believe that how many of you, if I did this, how many of you, if I went in and looked at your database and I started making calls or dials, how many of you believe that I would identify opportunities that you've missed? You can raise your hands on that. How many of you think if Burl jumped into your database and I started making calls, I would find lost opportunities or business that's about ready to happen? You think we could find some opportunity there? What if, Ryan, in 2026, instead of investing in strangers, we invested more heavily in our database and that we focused on getting more of the opportunities out of our database as opposed to attracting more strangers? How many of you feel like that dollar spent in your database on client events, on more touches, on showing up differently would increase your business in 2026? Because I would love to see us focus on that. And so when we're talking at someone, we're doing marketing that's about us. We do mass emails. We're just checking in. We do one message to all that's very transaction focused, and our contact is more sporadic. When we're talking to someone, if I'm talking to Catherine, I don't have generalized conversations. I have personalized outreach. How's your daughter? What's happening with your grandkids? We're having specific conversations. We talk about relevant insights to her property. How is it living in a warmer climate? We talk about things that are tailored to the individual, their work, their environment, the things that they do. And it's focused on building a relationship. And we have consistent touch points. One of the most important things you can do in building a database that continually pays you based on trust is that whenever you have a touch with someone, you always schedule the next touch. Like if you could build the habit of whenever I have a conversation with Marie, I always go in and schedule the next touch, then Marie never falls through the cracks. We always stay in touch. And the result of that is our relationship becomes more solid and continues to grow. Here's some examples of messaging of how you might change or adapt talking at someone to talking to someone. Talking at someone might be marketing that says, you call someone, you're like, oh, so are you thinking about selling? If you give me a call for a free market analysis, I'm happy to give you that information. Does that feel very personal to you, Marie? No. But if I say, Marie, I noticed there were 3 homes in your neighborhood that sold in the last month. One of them was almost identical to yours. Would you be interested in having me show you what they sold for so you can get a sense of what your current equity might look like? That's a little more interesting, isn't it? Like the house is almost exactly like yours. You want to know how much equity you have? I don't care what you do with it, but it'd be nice to know. Talking at someone might be, here's my newest newsletter with all the market stats. But when I call Adam up, I say, Adam, since you bought your house in 2021, your home has likely gone up between 14 and 18% based on similar properties nearby. I ran a quick estimate for you, just to give you an idea what your house might be worth. You want me to send it over? I mean, is there any downside to that message, Adam? It's different, isn't it, than giving you generic market stats. It's, look, you bought your house in 2021. I remember you. And it's probably gone up 18%. And as a result of that, you might have some pretty massive equity. You can do all kinds of things with your equity. You can buy another property. You could use it to pay off debt. You could refinance your property on a shorter term loan. There's lots of things we could eliminate mortgage insurance. There's lots of things you could do with the equity you have in your property if you knew that it was there. We just need to have the discussion around it. Hey, check out my new blog. I just set up this new blog on home renovations, generic or specific. It's generic. So, but that's talking at somebody. But when you're talking to them, it's Ryan. I remember you talked about remodeling your kitchen a year ago. And it's funny because I just wrote a piece on doing upgrades that give you the best return on your investment. Here's some ideas that might help you specifically. And then you send them a link to your blog. So it's you take the generic information and you show us why it's relevant to the individual, and it changes the relationship and your ability to build trust. Here's another one. As we come into the holidays, happy holidays from your favorite agent. How many of you hate that message? I hate that message. But Merry Christmas to the Taylors, right? I was thinking about your family's new backyard and your fire pit and how it's getting used this holiday season. I love you being out there with your family. Tell me how much you're enjoying that, and to continue sharing those photos because it warms my soul when I see your kids sitting around the fire pit doing marshmallows. Like that message right there is Merry Christmas. To me, that's happy holidays or happy Hanukkah or whatever it is you celebrate during the holiday season. It's personalizing the message to them so that they feel the warmth when you're coming through there. Trust is relationship focused. It's about personalizing and talking to people, not talking at them. Just check in and see if you're ready to buy or sell is very, very different than me calling somebody and saying, Alex, oh my gosh, I just saw your company is expanding again. Congratulations for your incredible growth. I thought that, as you're growing, that means you're probably growing personally as well. And it might mean that we ought to be looking at a different property for you guys. What are you thinking about that? Oh, matter of fact, I'm totally ready to get out of this dog pit house that I've been in for 5 years. The business isn't a place where I'm ready to move. I need to move into a home that's equal to my growth. Well, now's a great time to do that. Let's talk to people instead of talking at them. Many realtors follow the strategy of wish marketing, and they carry around their phone and they look at it all day long, hoping someone's going to call them and turn themselves in. And hope is not a strategy. It does not put money in the bank. It does not pay your bills. It does not feed your team. It does not buy your handbags. It does not do the things it does not get you mani-pedis. It does not allow you to travel well in first class. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is the thing that agents hold on to that don't understand the value of relationships without transactions. Going through your database and calling people and focusing and building relationships without any strings attached to get a transaction will generate more opportunities than anything you can spend money on. But it's a contact sport. You got to pick up the phone. You got to pick up that dang phone and you got to make the dials. Your 61 points a day matters because it's 61 points doing dollar productive activities. You've got to do things that create activity. How many of you have ever done this where you've decided that you're going to have a higher focus? Okay. How many of you get into a place where you look at your pipeline and it's empty and you need money? And so you think, okay, I'm going to prospect. You start calling through your past clients, your leads, people that came to open houses, you start doing all the activities. And when you're anxiously engaged in the right activities, like this weird thing happens in the universe where somebody out of the blue calls you and says they want to sell their home, or somebody's relative calls you and says they're looking to buy something. It's like when you're doing the right things, business is attracted to you, even though it's not directly related to that thing that you were focused on. Does anybody else experience that, or is that just a rural thing? Chloe says, yep, that's true. So if we can be consistent in the activities that generate the results, will be consistent on the attraction that happens in the universe. Action creates energy, and energy attracts business. Aaron, I couldn't say that any better. But before you can do something for someone, you first have to know the who, then you can do the what. Meaning, we first have to know who we're going to call before you can do anything for them or serve them. First, you have to know the who, then you can do the what. We spend countless hours getting ready to do something great, trying to figure out who we're going to call instead of just starting with the A's and then go through the B's and then go through the C's. If they're in your phone, they deserve a call. If they're in your CRM, they deserve a call, and they need to be categorized correctly so you can determine how often you're going to call them. Does that make sense? And so what are we going to do? First, we have to identify the who. If you were going to create a list of people that were going to receive a personal touch from you every single month, without exception, and it was non-negotiable, who would be on that list? Who would you call? Marie, you're like a plant in the audience. Top 50? Anybody else? If you don't know who your top 50 is, let's talk about it for just a minute. Okay, Marie, come off mute. See, you get all interactive. Now I'm going to talk to you.
I know. I love it.
Good to see you. Okay, explain the top 50 as you understand it.
So the top 50 are those clients and or friends or family that you know, love, and trust, that you find joy in contacting every single month. So it's not like the phone doesn't feel real heavy when you have to call them, and basically reaching out to them. So it is very individualized. And getting together with them. We've reduced ours to either it's a phone call or it's a belly to belly interaction. So no more emails, just cheap letters, anything like that. So it's basically those two options. And then just continuing to build that relationship, and then ultimately asking them who do they know that may need real estate assistance. And then they get spoiled throughout the year. They quarterly get a gift. We do a client event for them. We do the pumpkin pie thing. They get the Christmas cards. And so these are ones that are just really easy to call and say, hey, love to get together with you. And by the way, do you know anybody that would need my assistance? And they've committed to you. So this is a commitment. They know this is coming. They know what to expect from you. And they know that they're going to get asked that question. So it's keeping them on top of mind. So basically you have 50 individuals that are out there also advocating for you just as much as you're advocating to the rest of the world.
Okay, stay with me. You said a couple things that are really important. Number one is that you have a personal touch with them. It's not an email or a text. I love that. That's absolutely how it's written.
Right. So, I mean, we may text them to set up the appointment, but it's the idea is that it is a personal, like it's not just an easy, hey, how you doing, text and go off. Like it is an intentional conversation.
Okay. Now, next thing you said was that you activate them and they actually know that you're calling them for a referral. They've committed to giving you a minimum of one a year. You actually tell them that? Tell me what that dialogue
Yes.
is like.
So typically we like to do this at the closing table for those that were rotation. And we do go through our top 50 list. If they haven't given us one, unfortunately, they get bumped. Or it's if you still really love them desperately, it's, hey, are you still committed to give me one? I didn't get one. It's kind of having that hard conversation. But I mean, the thing is like this is your playbook. These are people you are going to be reaching out that ideally you get 50 transactions from, right?
Well, I don't know how
So
you answer this question, but how long have you been working your top 50 and what has the impact of that been?
we've been working our top 50 since 2021, probably pretty heavily.
Mhm.
And it's just every year's gotten deeper and deeper. And I will say that it always hasn't produced. I was more heavy on the stranger coming in and converting. But then when I really committed to my top 50, and you go in and out of phases, I'll just be transparent. I'm not always great at it. But when I commit to it, they produce. And this has been my biggest year yet of production with just my referrals have carried my year this year 100%.
So when everybody else was struggling to get off the fence, your trusted relationships showed up for you because you showed up for them.
They did 100%. So, I mean, this year alone, I've done the most transactions I've ever done at closing in on 100.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I had an investor come on board with me that I've been working in my top 50 for years. And so with him and everybody else, I'll hit over 100 transactions this year alone. So I
Let's
would say
give
it's
me a
doing
high
very
five.
well. My GC, I'm almost 15 million in volume and then almost 500,000 in commissions.
Best year ever?
It's doing pretty good.
Hasn't anybody ever told you
I
that the
hear
market's
pretty
down?
well.
No one's told you the market's down. You're not supposed to be doing better.
Well, yeah, I heard that and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but super thankful though. But it comes from I've nurtured these relationships for a long time. And I've had the wandering repeat client come back that I hadn't stayed in touch with that called me up and said, hey, I want you to sell my house. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know you still liked me. And that's on me because I haven't stayed in touch with them, just to be
Right?
honest.
Well, good for you.
But this year has showed me the power of I need to stay in their faces.
It's so true, and don't ever stop. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to give everybody who doesn't have access to the top 50, scan the QR code really quick and just make sure you get it.
Yeah.
And I'll let you download it. But I'm not just going to give you the top 50. I'm going to give you a couple other tools we haven't even talked about yet. I just always do this really fast at the end, and then I forget to leave it up long enough. So I want everyone to have an opportunity to grab that. Just do a quick scan of this. You're
And
gonna
I'm getting ready to send out a video message, just to Earl's point, the video messages to these top 50 clients, getting their recommitment for the next year, letting them know that, hey, I know this hasn't been my best year on all the special gifts and nuances. I want to celebrate you coming up here in the first quarter next year, but also, can I count on your commitment again for 2026? Because you've been invaluable. So I, just really want to pump that up. So, I recommit them every year.
Well, I appreciate that you do that, and I absolutely love it. This is what it looks like if you're a Workman coaching client. We've moved to the top 50 and we've built it into our own platform now. It's so much better. And so now we can track all of your scheduled touches. You can have multiple top 50 lists. A lot of our clients will do a top 50 past clients and referrals. Then they do a top 50 agents outside their market that they refer back and forth business to. And then they might have a top 50 businesses that they refer business to. So you can have multiple top 50 lists. For those of
Yeah.
you that are broker owners, we have you create a top 50 recruits or people that you want to focus on to join your brokerage or to your team. And so we can have more than one top 50 list. And one of the new things, and Maria, I don't know if you've seen this, we've added AI intelligence into our tracking systems inside a Workbench. And so now the coach has the ability to go in and we can use AI to look at all your daily success habits and identify trends and gaps. And we can use our AI to give us what's happening in your top 50 and show us where your gaps are and who you're not contacting and what different kinds of touches we need to do going forward to improve the results you're getting. And so there's a lot of cool things that are happening with the technology behind the scenes that'll allow you to put your top 50 on steroids and then give you the intelligence that works from a conversion perspective. How cool is that?
It's pretty awesome.
Okay, so meaningful touches. It's interesting that you talked about all of them, right? It's a short video text, a thought of you. I thought I'd share an article, a resource, something that is relevant to them and their situation, handwritten notes, and the number one most valuable touch is the face-to-face conversation is let's just get coffee. And we have people that set up coffee days and they have different clients meeting them at a coffee place and they come in 15 or 20-minute increments and they're getting through a big list of top 50 by just setting a couple of days a week where they just have coffee. And it's not just with a person, it's with multiple people. So it becomes strategic. And then during that meeting, you get to catch up, you buy them a coffee or a latte, you write down what their drink they ordered was. So next time it's prepared and ready for them when they get there. And then you just connect and you just give each other some love. I think that those meaningful touches that happen on a monthly basis with your top 50 are not just game changing. Now, you can do your top 50 every month. You can have a face-to-face or a meaningful conversation with all 50 of them every month. But we also have to think about the rest of the database and what are other types of meaningful things. When everybody else is looking at the market right now, they look at all these threats. And the threats that are in the marketplace put our relationships out of balance with a lot of people. I believe that when you become an options dealer, when you really look at threats, threats are not excuses. Threats are opportunities to message differently to our friends. And so when I look at a threat, I think, okay, that means somebody has an emotional response to something negative going on in the marketplace. How do we move their emotion from a negative emotion to a positive emotion? I know Cleve talked about in the last session, he talked about emotional transformation communication. He showed you the emotional communication wheel. Well, understanding how we choose to use our words in dealing with threats and moving them to opportunities really matters. One of the things that we do when we do our business plans is we do this sheet called the goal achievement system. And in the goal achievement system, we have you set a goal. We do have you do 5 personal and 5 business goals every year that are very specific. And with each goal, you identify why it's important to you. What is the real core value behind it? And then we have you make a list of all the possible excuses that you might use when you don't hit the goal at the end of the year. We go through and we just list them out. Excuses for failure are often show up as threats. But then one by one, we go through and we create a resolve for each of those excuses. So you may not use that. You cannot use that at the end of the year. I didn't have enough time. Well, that's not really the problem, is it? It's that I chose to do other things with my time. It's not that one person has more time than others. It's a very different way of looking at your goal setting. Threats are opportunities when you think about it. Let me give you an example. Um, Builders. I was talking to a friend of mine who is a professional speaker, and he primarily works with new construction and home builders. And what do you think their biggest challenge in the marketplace is today? Anybody want to guess what one of their big threats is? The workforce is definitely one. That's not the number one. Excess inventory. They're sitting on spec properties that they have construction loans on, that they overpaid for product in, and now the market is giving them feedback that they can't make margins. And the cost of carrying those properties is killing them. So there's a huge threat in construction with increased inventory that's sitting on the market. And then we've got another problem in real estate that says we don't have enough what? Inventory. There's a pent up demand of buyers. We have too much inventory in builders, but not enough inventory for regular buyers. Like there's got to be a solution here somewhere, right? So we created a module called a shift module that is where we teach buyers how to find and take advantage of the threat of excess inventory that builders have. And then we teach them how to know what builders' incentives are. We teach agents how to build good rapport with the builders and have different lender options. Builders are getting things done through financing that general lenders can't get done because they're making special concessions. They often have free upgrades. They upgrade during construction. You get to pick some different things. We got builders now that are selling their model homes where you're getting thousands of dollars in upgrades, but you lease it back to the builder and then they use it until they sell out their subdivision. And so when you look for spec inventory, you ask where the spec inventory is. What this shift module does is it teaches an agent how to message to the consumer, and then it gives them very specific tips on negotiating with builders. And then there's a whole script and a role play and a tool that allows the agent and the consumer to take advantage of what other people find as a threat. You guys like that idea of taking a threat that somebody's feeling, changing the emotional communication languaging, giving a tool or resource, and then messaging to the market? Did you know that in many markets, including in Utah, it's much cheaper to build a house than it is to buy existing real estate? The cost of existing real estate has exceeded the cost per square foot of building brand new. So when somebody can't afford to buy a house where they want to buy, because that's not where the new construction is, we become options dealers. It's not that they can't buy a home, it's that they haven't looked at all their options yet. And so we give them additional options using using these shift modules. Here's another one. Are you finding now that more of your offers coming in have contingent sells on them, and that people are coming in with a property they need to sell? Are you guys seeing more of that? I see a few heads nodding. I can't see all your heads. Okay, so how do you message as a buyer's agent to get your contingent sell approved? And then how do you message as a listing agent during your listing presentation to set the seller up so that when a contingency sell comes in, they're prepared to accept or reject it based on a system? We call it the verified contingency sale system. And so as a buyer's agent, we have a checklist for you. As a seller's agent, we have a checklist for you of how to get things done. And it basically proactively addresses the concerns that a buyer or a seller would have in having a contingent property, and allows them options to move forward, and allows us to put deals together where other people are failing. And so what I would have you do is I would have you download this. I would have you read it out loud with your team, and then I would have you use the tool and the system that accompanies the system. And then I would use the scripts and dialogues, and then I would literally get on the phone and I would start dialing and then talking to people about their situation. A great place to use the verified contingency sell system is in working with for sale by owners, or working with expired listings. For those of you that work those, if you're in a place where you don't work those, then don't do it. But if you work expires and FSBOs, when you call it for sale by owner, instead of saying, at some point you may want to put your house on the market, I'd love to be considered, don't say that, because nobody cares about you. If you say, I noticed you had your house on the market, and I list a lot of properties, and a lot of offers are coming in contingent, and a lot of for sale buyers don't know what to do with it, I have a checklist that I'd be happy to share with you on things that you should consider when a contingent offer comes in. No cost or obligation. I'd be happy to share it with you. Would you like me to share that? How does that conversation feel different? Do you think they'd be open to it? I think so. And what about expired listings? Did you have any offers at all? Yeah, but they were all contingent. Oh, you must not have heard about our verified contingency sales system. Well, what's that? Oh, we have a whole proven process to make sure that we're able to continue to market your property while allowing somebody else to sell their property. If you'd love it, I'd meet you for coffee sometime. I'll go through it with you. And then if you ever do put your house back on the market, at least have a system to follow. Think about how you message differently. I'm not trying to convince them to list or buy with me. I'm trying to convince them that I'm willing to serve regardless of the opportunity. And then what we do with these shift modules, and we have so many of them, we have more than 20 of them, we have very specific messaging and a real tool that you can give away with no strings attached. Ryan says 4 out of 5 buyers in 2025 were move up buyers. That's with an existing home to sell. 4 out of 5, that's most of them, isn't it? And so are you messaging to the market? Are you talking about this on social media? What a powerful social media post is to talk about our verified contingency sell system. You see, when we give proprietary language to identify a threat in the marketplace, I have a house to sell, I don't know if I can buy, and then we use it in our social media messaging and marketing, now we start sounding different than everybody else that's talking about, I listed another house, sold another house, look at my walkthrough. Like that messaging is not attractive. All it is self-promotion. I'm saying that we need to be better at messaging to the threats in the marketplace and giving people options. And that's how trust is built. So we do the verified contingency sell system, and it just flat out works. It's systems for buyers and sellers. It's a checklist for verification that when we present an offer, it's a verified contingent sale. Here's all the boxes that have checked. And then when we are representing the seller and one comes in, then we go through the checklist with the seller and we check off the boxes. It's a systematic approach to giving the sellers the ability to accept or reject based on data, not on emotion. Verified contingency sale. How many of you can think of at least one way that you might use that in the next 30 days? Like, how could you use the verified contingency sell system? How will you use it in the next 30 days to serve instead of sell? How would you use it? I'd like to hear from a few of you and have you just kind of tell me how you would use this specific shift module and how it would make an impact. What do you expect will happen? How impactful will this be if you hear about it today, but you don't do anything with it? I'm just looking at the chat over here on my other screen. Okay, Robert. So I love that message. It says it lends to my credibility and ability to serve my clients. How will you use it? What is that practical application of the tool now? So I love that you recognize its ability and credibility to message differently, but now how? Like I always
Yeah.
love
So,
when I
yeah.
do.
So I want to, you asked me a question, I'm going to answer, right?
Yeah,
So
come on.
we've got two listings right now. One is a young seller, anxious to put his house on the market, and he is not getting a lot of offers, right? I told him you need to price it here. He said, no, let's price it there, right? And so the conversation would lend itself like, hey, so the market is telling us information, right? No news is information. It is giving us real data to work with here. Secondarily, we have another listing on a place that had an offer that is now going to blow up twice, and so we need to give some assurances to that particular seller that, hey, don't worry, we got it handled. Here's the system we're following to help you get your property sold.
Yeah, I love that. We're as a result of what we had happen last, we're going to make sure it never happens again. We've created a verified contingency sell system for you. That's a great differentiator. I love that. Okay, Ryan. So how could you use it to get more listing presentations? That's a good question, isn't it?
To even get the appointment in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, I'd go back to that statistic that most people that need to um that are buying have a home to sell. So how can I not only how can I use that to get your offer accepted on the one we're going to buy, but then also how we're going to evaluate it on the one you're selling.
Perfect. I mean, that's a great way to do it. Kayla, you put a long message in there. Tell me what that is. Tell me about that. You could use real examples. And how would you do that in video? How would that show up?
So I do a lot of reels and a lot of social media, and I'm guilty of just putting up the just sold postcards, etc. But instead of just saying the just sold, you can create a story behind the transaction because people also love to be told a story. So you can make it a storytelling opportunity with education behind it. So you're using education and storytelling to help self-promote, but giving education to your consumers.
Yeah, so the self-promotion is the underlying thing that happens.
Right. So is it like, yeah.
Yeah, you're promoting trusted advisor as opposed to great realtor. I'm your greatest realtor. You should call me. But when you say, the Johnsons had their house on the market and it had been 60 days and no offers were coming in, we finally got an offer, but it was contingent on another property. So we took them through our proprietary verified contingency sell system, and we identified that the property had a high likelihood of selling. So we put a couple of uh, clauses in place in the contract that allowed us to continue to market the property, but still tied up the buyer while they continued to get their house sold. The result was the house sold, it sold at the full price, and we were able to help both the buyer get a new home and the seller get what they needed out of the property. That to me in a video is way cooler than just sold another house. Like, how
Right.
did you get there? Here's the if you and now think about let's have some fun. So Kayla, just while we're talking for a minute, think about emotional connection languaging in the video. Oh my gosh, my people are so frustrated. You ever been frustrated that you're trying to sell a property that didn't sell? Anybody else feel that way? That's a emotional languaging that's like frustration. And then you're feeling like you're disappointing your wife and your kids. You're disappointing your boss because you're not getting closer to the office. And that disappointment makes you feel like you've let somebody down. And so as a result of that, we implemented this verified contingency sell system, which allowed us to get more offers on the property. We were open to looking at every offer instead of just the ones that weren't contingent. And they started to get excited because more people were looking at the property, and finally were relieved when it went under contract and actually closed. So we went from frustration and disappointment to excited and relieved, and now they have joy in their new property. So all those words that we used in that whole story gets people to lean in and follow and share because now they've connected with you. Does that feel different than self-promotion?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really good at that naturally.
Yeah, I'm sure. You can't create a following unless you're good at connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now I'm gonna challenge you to look at the shift modules and use a different one every week and then see how you can get people to engage and start using them to hey, tell me your story of feeling frustrated or give me your example of when you experienced and then use your shift module and see if you can create more engagement using that, and let's come back and talk to us and tell us how it goes, because I think you're going to find that people will engage when you make it about them instead of about us. Make it about how they're feeling and what they're seeing. Make sense?
Absolutely. People want to be heard.
Yes. And that's the whole purpose of this trust economy that we're moving in. You will not trust me unless you feel like I've actually listened and understand where you're coming from. And once I get that, then when I give you counsel, advice, or tips, you feel like you've been heard and the information coming back to you is based on what I understand about what you need.
My
That
favorite saying is you have to listen to understand, not respond.
that's a that's one of my favorite. That's an old Howard Brinton. That's one of my favorites. Listen to understand, not to respond. And so few people do that. They are so focused on what it is they're going to say next that they don't actually understand what's being said to them. And oftentimes, what's being said isn't in the words. It's in the body language. It's in the facial expression and the emotion. And you have to listen and pay attention to all of it. And that's why face-to-face connection is so important in this trust economy. The um, there are a lot of people who have massive followings, but they don't have any deep relationships, and they feel lonely. And so what this does is it takes for somebody, Kayla, that is a good marketer that knows how to create connection online, and then we move it into individual one-on-one touches, it then opens up to real meaningful relationships built on trust. And that is gold. That changes the nature and the value of the mass followings that we are creating and generating in our social media. Okay, interesting stuff. I love this stuff, by the way. All right, guess what time it is? It's the time of the year where we're doing a little bit of goal setting. And I want you to know that I hate SMART goals. And that if you ever see me teach SMART goals again, I want you to challenge me on it. Marie, I'm sorry, but SMART goals are not that smart. Who do you know that's ever achieved anything amazing by setting an achievable and realistic goal? If it's achievable and realistic, then you're not even stretching, are you, Ian? You're not even pushing yourself. Like when I think about SMART goals, I was actually on a podcast and we were talking about my raving referrals for real estate book. And the podcaster said, talk to us about SMART goals. And then I started talking about it and I just felt icky, insincere, and dishonest because I don't believe in them. And I'm not going to talk about them anymore, even though they're in my book. I now have a whole custom GPT built around stupid goals. And I believe in stupid goals. Stupid goals are strategic, they're transformational, they're completely unrealistic. You are afraid to say them out loud because it's embarrassing. They're purpose driven, a real motivating core value of why. And in order to achieve them, you can't do what you've done to get here to achieve them. You have to re-engineer and do things differently. You have to innovate in order to hit your stupid goals. And they're dynamic. Whenever you get close, we just change them. I was looking at this picture the other day, and I have a stupid goal. I want Michael Phelps abs. Wouldn't that be cool? I didn't even know I had abs, and I started working out, and I thought I had it was a rib, but one day it might be an ab. I'm hoping, Marie, that someday I actually have abs. When you think about Michael Phelps and what he did, I don't know if you realize this, but he won his first major his first goal as a child was to break a national record in his race by the time he was 10 years old. He'd already set a state record, but he wanted to break a national record by the time he was 10. As he progressed, his goals kept getting more ambitious. One of his early goals, his long-term goals, was he wanted to make the U.S. Olympic team by the time he was 15 years old. And the only way he could do it is if he set a world record in the 200-meter butterfly and qualify for the 2000 Sydney Olympics. And he did it. I mean, look at this kid. I don't know if you know how outrageous these goals are. They're just stupid. You know that you're more likely. Here's a big one. He said, just to make the Olympic team when you're 15 years old. Here's how unrealistic that is. You're more likely to be struck by lightning twice than to make the Olympic team by 15. You have a better chance of randomly picking a 4-leaf clover on your first try than qualifying for the Olympics. You know, you're more likely to win the lottery and get hit by a meteor and find Bigfoot all in the same day than you are to make the Olympic team at 15. Think about that. Kevin, it's a stupid goal, isn't it? Like you say it out loud, everybody says you need to have more realistic goals. You have a better chance of getting a hole-in-one on a par 5 with a putter than you do of making the Olympics when you're 15 years old. When I think about all of those things, and I think about this young man and the smile on his face and what he's thinking about is do you know how many races he had to lose before he actually won? Hundreds of them. He set a big stupid goal. He wanted to win 8 gold medals in a single Olympics. And then he wanted to break the record of 7 goals set by Mark Spitz and get 8. Like how unlikely was it? It's like a basketball player in the NBA averaging 100 points per game for the entire season. It's never happened, not even the best of the best. It's like a soccer player hitting a hat trick at 8 straight World Cup finals. Do you know that World Cup only comes every 4 years? So over 32 years, you'd have to perform at the highest level and get a hat trick in the finals. You'd have to even make it to the finals that many times. It's like a golfer winning the same majors twice in the same year. It's so unrealistic. It is impossible. All of the things had to align to make it happen, but Michael Phelps set the goal. We have people that do amazing things all of the time by setting goals that everybody else tells them are impossible, that they're not doable, that they need to be more realistic, that they can't in this market, that the climate has to change, that they're not smart enough to be able to do it. He continues to do things that are crazy, like making chili goat cold plunge tubs and giving back to the world and making a difference. It's really interesting that his stupid goals didn't stop when he stopped winning medals. He just changed his focus to his foundation and to helping Special Olympics and to providing commentary for emerging swimmers. So my question to all of you is, how many of you have really, really crazy, stupid goals? And have you taken the time to set some goals for 2026 that are completely unrealistic and ask the question, what if? Marie, what if you went from 500,000 to 2 million in 2026? Would that be a stupid goal?
Yeah.
Is there any way you could get there by just doing more of the same?
No, absolutely not.
We'd have to re-engineer. We'd have to rethink about the entire business. Well, I want you to do it. I want you to sit down and do a few sessions in your chat, and I want you to start re-engineering what it would look like in your market with your average sales price and how many people you would need and what you would have to go after in order to hit 2 million. And when you reverse engineer it and figure out the one thing that you need to focus on in order to make that happen and actually do it. What if you failed and only hit 1.5 million?
Oh no.
Best failure ever.
Right. People
That
who
would really suck so bad.
right. People who set stupid goals fail constantly, but they fail at such a big level, they're wealthy.
Right.
I want to stop being the people that help agents and business leaders set smart goals. And I want to focus and I want to work with people who want to do things that are completely unrealistic and crazy so that they can make a difference in the world. Man, if you're that person and you're not already a Workman client, raise your hand and get involved because we will help you figure out and we'll help you reverse engineer how to get there. Does anybody have any stupid questions? I would love for you to go in your chat and proclaim a stupid goal. Like, give me something big or something really stupid that you're willing to do beyond, just a little bit more of the same. Give me a stupid goal. And then make sure that you've put on your calendar December 10th. Cleve is going to be back on expanding your vision beyond 2026 and really thinking about how having long-term strategy can impact what you do in a one-year plan. We're going to get into life balance. We're going to get into wealth building and really showing up and living well. So make sure that you're there for there. Okay. Aviva says, I'm going to say make 500,000. Hey, what if that number was 500,000 a month? How would you engineer that differently? Robert, what's a stupid goal for you? I mean, have you thought about that?
I have not yet. I'm glad you're challenging me to do so, though, but I really haven't yet.
Let's do it. So Viva, dream. Like, what is wrong with dreaming? Dreaming is how we do great things. I wanted to speak with the great Zig Ziglar. That was a stupid goal. I was actually told by my high school and college DECA leaders that was unrealistic and there was no career path for motivational speaker and that I needed to have more realistic goals. I spoke with Zig 4 times before he passed away. I gotta achieve it because I decided that I wanted that stupid goal. I wanted to build a business that my kids would want to be part of. What a stupid goal is that? How many of you, the way you do business, your kids would never want to be in real estate? What a great stupid goal, isn't it? 3 of my married kids all work with me now at Workman. How cool is that? Think about how we show up differently and let's create stupid goals and let's figure out what if and how to get there. I believe that if you do a stupid goal session with your coach and you start reverse engineering, Marie, let me ask you a question. If you set your 200 or your $2 million stupid goal for a year in 2026, but the difference was someone you cared deeply about it and someone who you loved, if their life depended on you hitting that goal, how would you work differently?
I don't know, but I'd figure it out.
I know. Okay, so what if that's how we worked? So how do you create that internal motivation, desire, and then decide that you're going to work like your life depends on it, or someone you care about's life depends on it? You reverse engineer, you build a network, you do the things that actually matter. How many things would you stop doing in your day that you currently do if that was the reality of your focus?
Yeah.
That's how I need you to think. That's how I want you to work. And then let's go do something amazing together. So recap of today, everybody. Thank you for your time today, but let's focus on building true relationships of trust. Let's talk to our database, not at them. Let's build and implement our top 50 systems and let's execute at a higher level than we ever have done in the past. You listen to Marie say that when she executes, she has her best year ever. And she looks back at when she's done it and asks the question, why haven't I done it more? What's funny is we stop doing the things that work all the time. Do the things that you know are proven and then turn threats into opportunities by becoming an options dealer. And let's start messaging to the threats in the marketplace because that's how we build trust and separate ourselves into this trust economy with real relationships. And let's set some stupid goals and let's have fun out there together accomplishing some great things. Everybody, thank you for your time today. I love being here. If you're going to be in Houston at NAR, come see me, find me. I'll see you soon. Thanks for being part of the Workman family. And guys, have a great rest of your 2026 if I don't see you again.